When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
After just 7 days, 96% of Shiseido Benefiance Wrinkle Smoothing Eye Cream users saw reduced wrinkles and diminished dark circles. Shop now at Sephora and discover how change can happen in the blink of an eye. Consumer tested by 110 women.
Hey friends, I'm Rachael Grohl, and I'm your host for the Hearing Jesus podcast, where I help you to know God and to make Him known. Friends, welcome back to the Hearing Jesus podcast. I have a very, very special guest for you today. Joining me for today's episode is my middle daughter, Adeline. Addy, welcome to the show today.
Hi, guys.
Addy has been a resistant and reluctant podcast guest. I've asked her to be on so many times. She has such an anointing on her, and I finally twisted her arm enough times that she agreed. And she's leaving us very soon on a very special adventure. And so I wanted to take just a little bit of time to share with you guys what's been going on in our life, in our family, in our world. And so I thought it would be really fun to just hear it firsthand through Addy about what the Lord's been doing in her heart over the last couple months. So Addy, why don't you share with everybody just a little bit about who you are?
Well, obviously my name's Addy. I'm Rachel's daughter. I'm 18 years old and I just graduated from high school. I went to a Christian school my whole life, growing up in a Christian home. Not my life being perfect by any means. It was definitely been a lot of struggles throughout my life. And just what the Lord is doing now is so much different than even what He was doing 2 weeks before I graduated. So for the past 7 years, I had wanted to be a lawyer. My goal and focus on that was wanting to be a voice for people who just couldn't be a voice for themselves. I've had experience with lawyers, and I just wanted to be there, and I saw the need and just the brokenness of that whole area, and I wanted to make a difference. I thought that no matter what I wanted to do, I wanted to make a difference and actually do something that mattered and impacted the lives of people around me. And I knew through law that would happen. So yeah, since I was 11 years old, for 7 years, I had wanted to be a lawyer. That had turned into wanting to be a judge and just maybe wanting to be in the Senate, maybe wanting to be on the Supreme Court. I had quite ambitious goals, but I had a plan.
You actually did go to do like a senator for a day, right?
Yeah, I went for I think 3 years in a row. I went to a high school program that was senator for a day, and I was like, I love this. I did genuinely have fun, but it wasn't because of the government or being a senator. It was because the senators were the ones who made a difference, and they were the ones who changed the laws and could vote and amend them. My goal was never the government. My goal was always making a difference and just being whatever voice, being Jesus in whatever way that I could. And I thought it was through the law and the government and being a lawyer and being an attorney and standing up for people, but turns out it wasn't.
Well, why don't we share, if we were having this conversation in the beginning of May and I asked you, what does your fall look like? What would you have told me?
So I would have said living at home and working at Starbucks and attending Arizona State University. I was offered a free a scholarship, a full ride scholarship to law school at Arizona State, and Arizona State is 8th in the country for law. And so I've worked at Starbucks for the past 2 years, and they partner with Arizona, but they offer a free bachelor's degree. And my plan was to just stay at home and save all my money and go to school, graduate with my bachelor's, and then spend all that money and graduate debt-free from law school. That was my plan. And my plan, that is what I'm going to emphasize. It was my plan. It was not the Lord's. It seemed really good. It seemed like an opportunity that I didn't want to ever turn down, because how could you turn down a free scholarship to law school?
So then something happened mid-May though, right?
Yes.
So what happened?
We went on my senior trip because it was a Christian school. We go on a missions trip, and we had the opportunity to go to Manchester, New Hampshire. They have the highest population of homeless people because they have the most resources for homeless people. So they come from all over the country. Literally, families send them on buses up to Manchester. I had no experience or any interactions with homeless people. Like, that's not a ministry that I've been involved with ever, because we don't have a huge ministry for it here. It's just not, we don't have a high population of homeless people. So I didn't know what to expect going into it. But just my heart posture going into it and my prayer for 2-3 weeks ahead of time was just like, Lord, I want to be used however you want to use me. Like, I'm willing to do whatever you want me to do. I'm willing to say whatever you want me to say. I'm willing to go wherever you want me to go. And I was just like, Lord, I surrender this to you. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what's going to happen on this trip, but Lord, I'm willing to do whatever you want me to do. So that was my heart posture. And I think that is kind of what changed the trajectory of my life. We went on this trip and I expected to be the leader. I kind of was a spiritual leader in my class, and so I expected to take on that role, but I was also listening to the voice of the Lord and just being like, I will step back if you want me to step back. And that's kind of what he told me to do, and just be behind the scenes. And because of that, he allowed me to see a couple things that honestly did help make my decision so much easier. So there was 2 people serving at the ministry that we were at. There was one guy, he was like mid-60s, and he had MS. So he couldn't walk, he couldn't talk correctly. Like, it affected his entire body. He was in so much pain all the time, yet he was at the church just faithfully serving every single day for hours and hours and hours every day, whether it was sweeping or arranging the chairs or preparing for Sunday service. He was just an elder in the church, but just his constant need and love just to serve the Lord was so evident, so clear, because he did it for no other reason. It wasn't benefiting him at all. It was just benefiting the Lord. And then there's one other girl, Barbara. So she runs the homeless breakfast that they have at their outreach building. So she was there at the outreach building day in and day out for hours upon hours, whether it was putting syrup in little containers or cutting up the butter or preparing the food or going on grocery runs for hours and hours and coming back with vans full of food. She was also just faithfully serving. And I remember they were just sitting down together at a table, and all my classmates were at different tables. So I went over and I sat down and we just started a conversation with them, and just the joy of the Lord was so clear and so evident that it had overwhelmed their life, that is why that they were serving it, because they love the Lord so much and because he is so faithful. They devoted their lives to serving him, and they were so humble about it. I remember telling people when I got home, I felt so at home there, and not because of Manchester, but because of the family that I was engaged with, the body of Christ. And when I got to experience people who also devoted their entire lives to it, I was like, this is where God wants me to be. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that whatever it is, I'm going to be serving the Lord no matter what, in whatever way. So he allowed me to see that, and I was so thankful, because I was it was almost so discouraging. Yes, we go to a Christian school. That does not mean people have a personal relationship with Jesus, and a lot of them don't. And it was honestly so sad that it's discouraging when you have a servant heart and when you start to serve and you get discouraged instead of encouraged in a Christian school. But that is what happened my entire senior year. So going in him, the Lord allowing me to see those 2 faithful servants, I was like, okay, it's not crazy of me to be a faithful servant. And other people in the kingdom of heaven, it was a little glimpse into the kingdom of heaven. And I was like, okay, I can do it if other people are. I don't need other people's approval if it's what the Lord wants me to do.
And so there was a moment where there was a shift in your heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Towards the end of the trip.
Oh, absolutely.
Tell us.
So then the only other second thing was just loving people. I saw how much, there's the homeless people sitting down and having a conversation, just loving them. A lot of them, it changed the trajectory of their lives. One girl I sat down and had a conversation with, she had said, on her way out the door, she had said, this is the first time in over 10 years that someone had sat down and actually listened to me. And that was just by me loving her. So seeing that was okay, I see how much it impacts and changes people's lives. So I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. Towards the end of the trip, I was after seeing those 2 faithful servants, I was just thinking about it. And then I was thinking about my career and what I was going to do in the fall and just the rest of my life, next, 8 years, but then my whole career. I was thinking about sitting in an office. And I remember physically getting sick and getting so anxious about that, sitting in an office. And looking back and realizing in the moment, it was because I physically cannot sit in an office all day when people do not know the name of Jesus. And when there are hungry mouths and homeless people that need a meal, or people that need a hug, or people that need, shared the gospel. I cannot sit in an office when people need to experience the love of Jesus. That was kind of my switch. I was like, okay, this isn't my calling. This isn't my purpose. He wants me to be serving. Physically, mentally, emotionally serving, physically doing the work. And a lot of people, it's hard because a lot of Christians, say that we're serving the Lord in everything we do, but that's kind of an excuse to not take an action and take a step in faith. And that's kind of just an excuse to stay stagnant. But, faith without action leads to spiritual stagnation. And that is not what I want for my life. I want to be serving the Lord. And he kind of showed me that. And then
Wait. You said faith without action leads to spiritual stagnation.
Yep.
Where's that from?
I don't know.
You don't know?
That's
Is that just from Jesus?
That's from Jesus.
That's from Addy Curtis?
I guess that's the word for today.
I think that's the title of the episode. Faith without action leads to spiritual stagnation. That's a word, girl. That's a word.
Yeah.
Hey friends, exciting news. My new book, Knowing God's Voice, is officially available for pre-order, and there's an incredible offer I don't want you to miss. Right now, over at bakerbookhouse.com, you can grab it for 40% off with free shipping. Plus, you can get the audiobook free as a special bonus on my website. This book is all about the often overlooked female prophets in Scripture, women who heard from God and responded in obedience. Their stories still speak to us today, and they can help us learn to recognize and respond to God's voice in our own lives. This offer is good through September 8th, so don't wait. Head to rachaelgrohl.com to learn more and grab your copy today.
Lowe's knows that no matter your paint project, saving is at the top of your list. That's why when you shop today, you can buy one, get one free select Valspar and HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams one-coat coverage interior paints via rebate. Shop these deals in-store or online today at Lowe's. We help, you save. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details. Offer valid 8/21 through 9/3.
So the last day of the trip was when my whole life changed. I was literally enrolled in classes at Arizona State. I was enrolled in law classes at this moment. Our final debrief, it was at 10:30 at night, the last night. And they asked 2 questions. I don't remember what the first one was, but the second one was, what's something that you're going to take home with you from this trip? And immediately the Lord just told me, I had to say that I cannot not do missions for every single day of the rest of my life. I can't not do it. I cannot not tell people about Jesus and serve when people have needs. When people need to be loved like Jesus or for me to just be obedient, I can't sit in an office all day when people need that.
And that's not to say that God hasn't called other people to do that.
Oh,
I definitely feel like there are people that God has called to be lawyers and doctors and accountants and all the things. But I think one of the things that you kind of came to realize, and us as your parents, we realized we've seen the call of God on your life since you were teeny tiny. But, as your parent, I can't say, Addy, going to law school is the wrong decision because you have this free ride and financially made sense and that was the passion of your heart. But we knew deep down the reason why that was a passion of your heart was because it was about making a kingdom impact. Mm-hmm. And you grew up in an environment where you never had a shortage of opportunities to serve. And whether it was on the sidewalk Sunday school truck or the food pantry or, all the different things we've done throughout the years, we've seen the anointing on you. We've seen the evangelistic calling on you, the discipleship calling on you. But that had to be something that came from the Lord. And so tell us about that moment where you first said out loud the difference?
Oh, it was a moment for sure. That's like going to be a moment that I remember for the rest of my life. So we're sitting there, that final debrief, and I knew I had to say that. I knew I had to say, I cannot not be a missionary and do missions for the rest of my life. I knew I had to say that, but it was so hard because I knew once I said that, I had to be obedient. And being obedient in this moment meant laying down my plans. It meant not going to law school at all. It meant not taking that full ride. It meant not having this plan that mapped out my whole future that set me up to be successful, at least in the world's eyes. Like, me being obedient meant taking a step out in faith, but that's exactly what it was. Not by sight. I had no idea what it looked like. I don't even know how to explain it other than I was completely blind walking into this. I knew that there's been so much confirmation since the beginning of the week. And looking back, there's been so much confirmation that this has been my calling for the entirety of my life. But I knew that I had to be obedient. So it was literally like, as these kids were going around the circle and saying and answering the 2 questions, I was about 3/4 of the way through the circle. I just remember the whole time. Literally, I've never experienced spirit versus flesh literally fighting inside of me. There's no other words to describe it. I was going back and forth because I was like, no, I can't say it. But I was like, I have to say it because I know the Lord wants me to. But my flesh did not want me to say it because that meant walking in obedience. And so I had no idea what it looked like. It was a step out in faith and not by sight. But that I was so blind and I was so scared because I'm a person who loves to be in control and be independent and be strong-willed and have this plan and follow the plan and work hard. But this is the first time where I've had to fully rely on the Lord and trust that He was going to, show me where He wanted to be. But I was so scared. But I'm so thankful that I was obedient because when it finally came time, it was my turn. And I had answered the first question. I paused. And I took a deep breath. And then I said it. And I was like, okay, well, now I have to be obedient. What does this mean? What does this look like? And so I had heard about the world race a couple times. And I had known if I was going to do missions that I would start with the world race. Because
Wait, for people that don't know what the world race is, can you elaborate a little bit?
Yes. So the world race that I have always learned and known about was essentially a gap year. And it used to be you would go to 11 countries for 11 months for $11,000. And I had heard that, I think my mom actually, you were the first one to introduce me to that. And I was just thinking about it and I was always like, I would love to do that, but I can't do that with being a lawyer. What would I do it before my degree? It just wouldn't make sense. But I had always thought first of all, I love travel. And I think that that's also something the Lord has put in my heart, a desire of mine because of this calling. I love travel and I long to travel and see the world and see different cultures and be immersed in different cultures. That is something I'm so passionate about. So the world race is, my understanding, it was a gap year. And then I kept been being reminded of it over and over and over. And then I'd kept hearing, the Lord will send you things. The Lord will keep, He'll send you things over and over and over, whether it's a word or a scripture or a memory or a person or something. So I knew that was from the Lord. And then 2 or 3 weeks, someone came up to me and had mentioned it and been like, oh my goodness, you should look into it. And I was like, oh yeah, but law school, whatever. We get to this trip in New Hampshire, and the first thing that our leaders say is that they both went on the world race.
That's cool.
Yeah. And it changed their lives, and it projected them into ministry for the rest of their lives. And I was like, okay. And then they both said, if you guys want to talk about missions and the world race, we can talk about it at the end of the trip. And literally the first day I was like, I'm talking to them. I don't know why. That was something from the Lord. I was like, I'm talking to them. And so that was this moment. Once I had said yes and been obedient, and I had, died to myself, died to my own plans, and been hoping and excited to walk into this new seasons of missions. And I was so excited, but I had no idea what it looked like. So we go over and we talk to our ministry leaders, and I sit down and they're just the biggest smiles on their face because they knew what this meant. They knew that this was me being obedient and taking a step out in faith, and just they were going to see how the Lord was going to use it.
And you had been working with them all week, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. I've been working alongside them, having conversations. I have a great relationship with them now still. And so my only stipulation for this entire thing was college classes. I was like, oh, well, I would still at first, I was like, oh, I would still love, to take some classes. I don't want to just completely, never get a degree or never work toward a degree or whatever. Not that that's my main priority, but I would I would love that. And so they sit down and they look up the world race for the 2025 this year. The first thing she says, so the gapless gap year, which normally it's a gap year. And I was like, oh, what's that? And she goes, this is the one with college classes. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't even know they did that, but that's great. Like, let's look into it. And she's like, well, for the fall semester for 2025, the one that I would be going on, or the one that I could look into going on, was in Italy, and it was starting a free coffee shop in southern Italy. And that, when I tell you that was such a moment where the Lord is being faithful and where the Lord provided, like, I can't tell you my reaction or emotions in that second, because you guys know I've been a barista for 2 years. So first of all, the coffee shop. The second is Italy. Italy, I don't know what it is. Like, I cannot explain it in any other. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, what Italy means to me doesn't make sense other than a God-given desire.
Well, and what had we already been planning?
We'd already been planning a trip to Italy.
Yeah. So for graduation, you opted to go. One of the things I always do for my kids is, instead of doing a party, we do a trip. And so we had already planned on going to Italy, which we did with my older daughter, Georgia, as well. Georgia stayed in Rome, but you didn't want to do Rome, right?
Where did you want to go? Italy.
Yeah. So Addy wanted to do southern Italy. So we planned a trip to do some towns along the Amalfi Coast. Mm-hmm. And mind you, this is a trip we have been planning for months. In addition to that, you, like you mentioned, you had been barista for 2 years. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, what else?
Studying Italian at school for 2 years. So it just, oh my goodness, when I say that was a God moment, I mean it. It felt so specific to me, because Italy, I was literally just explaining the week before. My mom didn't even know this. No one even knew this. The week before, my childhood best friend was in my room, and we were sitting on my floor, and I was talking about going to Italy. And I had said to her, I was like, I don't know what it is in me, but something like longs to be there. Like, I don't know what it is, and I've never felt that about anything else, but something about me longs to be in Italy, and just, I love the culture and just everything, and like, it feels like my home. I literally said, it feels like my home, and I've never even been there. And that is from God. Like, there's no other explanation. That wasn't from me. It doesn't make sense. I love traveling. I've been so many places, but that is something that was given 100% by the Lord.
And this is before you even set foot in Italy.
Oh, yes. I had never even been to Italy at this point. And we are Italian, and like, we have, Italian food for however much, it counts as Italian food here. Just like everything about Italian culture I fell in love with, and I had never even been immersed in their culture.
It's summer. Time to enjoy long days, lazy nights, and zero cooking. Because Uber Eats has deals all summer long. So, when hunger strikes, don't sweat it. Delicious deals are just a tap away on Uber Eats. Enjoy all your favorite food delivered straight to you. Get Burger King, Subway, Popeyes, and hundreds more local favorites, and savor every last bite. Now that sounds like a good summer. Order now on Uber Eats. Terms apply. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there's one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl, and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at Friskies.com or visit your local store.
And also the other thing, like, I just work at Starbucks. No, I love my job. Like, I love getting people, like, serving people coffee and making their day. Like, I don't know what it is. I love making a latte, or like, I just have so much fun at work, and I actually have to quit, and I'm so sad about it, but I love it. And it's just, I have so much fun doing it, and it's just a passion. And that also is nothing. I can't explain it other than that's given from the Lord. So when this happened, and I had no idea what I was going to do, or where I was going to go, or what was going to provide, money for food. Like, I had no idea. Stepping into missions, I was like, I don't know where he wants me to go. And then when I find out about this, literally 3 minutes after I was obedient and took a step out in faith, literally less than that, he opened the store instantly. And I have never felt so seen in my life. It just feels like he is 100% like my dad who cares about me. And I have explained it like, this would be my biggest dream come true, but it was so big, like I've never even thought about it. That's so specific to me and my desires and my passions, like that I love doing. And I had never even thought that that was even a possibility. Like that is what God does. That is who God is. He sees you and he sees the passions that he gives you. He gives you them for a reason.
Like he places them there.
Yes, he put that there on purpose, for a purpose. He's not just going to give you that and then never show you why. Like if you are obedient and you are walking in obedience and you are walking in a relationship with the Lord to look more like Jesus and to act more like Jesus every single day, you will find out why he gave you those desires and why he placed them in your heart. He gave you them for a specific reason.
Okay. I think one of the things that I think is really important to point out, which is something that I've talked about a lot, it's been a persistent experience of God in my own life, is that he was asking for your obedience before he showed you the plan.
Yeah.
And I think then in his grace, he knows how we are. He didn't make you wait too long for the plan.
3 minutes.
Yeah. And so, but still, it was that obedience portion that he was looking for first. And then I want you to explain a little bit about both the first semester and the second semester and kind of the evolution of what happened there. And then also, I just want to make sure that this is clear. We had already planned this trip. You had already taken 2 years of Italian. You've already been working and training as a barista for 2 years. And here, now what the plan is to go to Sorrento to start this coffee shop that is going to be used as a community source. The coffee is going to be free for people. Mm-hmm. And it's really the goal there is it's a healing center for people to come and receive spiritual healing. And so one of the amazing things that I think that the Lord, even in his grace for me as your mama, is when we went there, we already had tickets to get on the ferry and to go on the train to go to Sorrento. That was already part of our plan. And so we were able to go to Sorrento to see the church that you're going to be working in, to see where the coffee shop is located. Cause you know me, my crazy psycho mama bear is like, wait, is this a trafficking plan? Wait, does this place really exist? And we got to physically stand and take our picture in front of the door to the coffee shop. It's not in existence yet. It's the location where it's going to be. But, it's so many things that the Lord lined up. I remember you and I were sitting on that boat on the way down and we're like, how is this even real right now? How in the world did God do this? But yet, of course he did. Of course he did. So tell us about the evolution of what happened next.
Yeah. So the one thing right before is obedience, that just a little quick snippet about obedience, me being obedient and me seeing the fruits of that has made me want to be obedient immediately right away.
Yeah, quick obedience.
Like ASAP. I don't know, there's no other explanation other than me being obedient. I saw what that led to, and I saw that the Lord had greater plans for my life, because that's what it was. My plan was law. My plan was a free scholarship to law. That sounds like a pretty good plan. Every single person laughing in my face. That's crazy. His plans were so much greater and were so much higher for my life. And me seeing that, I never would have known about this trip if I wasn't obedient.
Right.
I never would have known why he had given me the desire to work in a silly little coffee shop, or why he had given me the desire to love Italy so much, and why he had given me the desire to connect with people over little coffee, like a cup of coffee. I don't know why. I never would have known that this was his plan all along if I wasn't obedient.
You know what is so interesting about that too is, from the time you were little, we have known that you've had a call of God on your life. I remember, I would not say obedience was always natural to you, right? Growing up.
It's definitely the opposite of natural.
Yeah. So, it's just so funny for me as your mom to hear the way that the Lord has worked in your heart.
Oh yeah.
And I think there has always been this leadership in you. There's always been this burning desire in you. Our youngest daughter, Amelia, when she was a baby, Addy came to me and she said, Mom, what is going to happen if, we call her Grace, or Amelia Grace, what's going to happen if Grace dies? Is she going to go to heaven? And she was I don't know, 13 months or something at the time, really tiny. And so we explained, how salvation happens and the age of accountability and all those kinds of things. But really, ultimately, she needed to make this decision for herself. And so I was doing laundry. I went up into the laundry room and I came back into my room. And when I came back into my room, Addy had the baby she was wearing suspenders. She had her by the straps of her suspenders and she was shaking her violently saying, "Say you love Jesus. Say it. Say you love Jesus." And the poor baby, who can't even talk yet, is like, "I love Jesus." Like, has no idea what she's saying. But Addy was so passionate about making sure that her baby sister was going to get into heaven that she was trying to force her. And so I think we knew at that moment that there was an evangelistic call on your life. We've seen it throughout your life. We've seen these different glimpses of it. One of the things that I think is also super interesting is you come from a spiritual line, a spiritual legacy that is pretty unique, right? So on top of me being your mama and forcing you to go with me on all my, I've taken her to the Dominican Republic. I've taken her to New York City, to Italy. And so there's been a long trajectory, a long trail, but there's also this other spiritual inheritance side that you have from the other side of the family, right?
Yeah. So Fanny Crosby, I'm not sure how many greats it is, but she was like one of our great aunts.
So she was your great grandmother's first cousin.
Really? That close?
Yeah. Nanny. She was Nanny's first cousin. Because Nanny would always say, Cousin Fanny. Everybody's always bragging about Cousin Fanny.
Yeah, and that was Fanny Crosby. And I know a lot of you guys probably know who that is, but if you don't, she's written like the standard hymn books that are in almost every single church. She's written well over half of those hymns in there. And
like Blessed Assurance.
Oh, yes. Like so many. Look up Fanny Crosby. You'll know. But just the amount of people, like that was so unique when I learned that, when I heard about that, because she was obedient and she used the passions that God had given her, and she was obedient by publishing those hymns. And so by her doing that, not only did she reach like the people in her generation, but she's still reaching. Think about how many hymnal books are even in one church. Think about how many people sing those hymns. Think about how many like churches around the world, around the globe have those hymnal books in them. And that was what? My great grandma's cousin. Yeah. Like she used her obedience, and she was like simple. It was as simple as that. She used the gifts that God had given her, and she was obedient.
And we read this recently, she was one of the first women, if not the first woman, to testify in front of the Senate.
Oh, yeah. We did learn that, like when we were...
Yeah. And there really hasn't been anybody on your dad's side that has taken up that mantle of spiritual leadership since then. And I remember like a year ago, we were in church during worship, and I remember the Holy Spirit was like, the mantle has been passed down. That mantle of Fanny Crosby.
To me.
That spiritual anointing has been passed down. Do you remember that?
I remember you pulling me aside after. Yeah.
And I was like, girl, you just need to pray about this. And at the time, I think we both kind of thought it was along the lines of the Senate. With law and like politics.
Working my way up or whatever it was.
Yeah. And so, I feel like the Lord has been preparing you for this your whole life, even though it's been more recent.
There's been so many things. Even when I was so little, do you remember the amount of prophecies that people would have over my life? Like when you guys, have ever experienced a prophecy, even if you experience one, when someone tells you something, the Lord tells someone to tell you something, and then you see it unfold and you see it, later down the line in your life. That impacts your faith and changes the trajectory of your life because you experience the fullness of the Lord. And so when I was little, I remember...
Wait, shameless plug. If you want to learn more about prophecy, I have a new book coming out called Knowing God's Voice, which is all about prophecy and the female prophets in the Bible.
Yes. Okay. So there you go, if you don't know anything.
Have you read that book yet?
Not yet.
Girl, take it on the airplane.
Not yet, but I will.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan. $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
So, prophecies. An uncountable number of prophecies over my life when I was a child, when I was so little. I remember a girl calling on the phone. She called my mom, and I was like, I couldn't have been more than 8. And my mom handed the phone to me. She goes, someone wants to talk to you. I was so scared because I was like, why are you calling me? But she was like, Addy, the Lord told me to tell you this, and I know you're so little, you probably don't understand it, but you will one day. And I remember her just being obedient and sharing with me what the Lord had told her to tell me. And she was like, the Lord has great plans for you. That's literally what she said. She said, the Lord has great plans for you, and he is going to use you and to impact the kingdom in so many ways that you couldn't even imagine. And just, you are going to be a woman of the Lord who, faithfully serves. And I remember her saying kingdom impact. That just came to me right now. I remember her saying kingdom impact. It sums up my whole life, my whole testimony almost. But so many people have also given prophecies over me or told me, or, there's one guy in church. I was just talking to a friend at church, and then he's walking by, church is over, and he's like passing through the aisles, and he looks at me and he says, you need to keep Jesus as your best friend. You need to keep your eyes on Jesus, and then he will bless you, and you will do amazing things, and you will impact the kingdom in ways that you never would have imagined. And he looked at me and he goes, the Lord just gave me that right now, so take it, just take that, just listen to him. And so he didn't even know me. I don't even think he knew my name. And so there's been so many moments in that where I'm just like, okay, like, this is what he's been preparing me for. And like, just the testimony of my plans versus his plans, he's already planned it out. So I don't have to go through the stress and anxiety of doing it myself and figuring out what to do because he's already planned it. So as long as I'm attentive to the Lord and listening to the Lord and praying for him to show me, that's kind of been my prayer this whole thing, because I have no idea what it looks like. Like, yes, I know this trip. I don't know what's happening after. Like, so we'll get into that a little bit. I knew Italy, but it also said Albania. I had known nothing about Albania. So that comes out. And I look, and it says we're taking day trips to Macedonia. I saw that and I about cried because, like, just Macedonia being one of the first places that Paul goes. And Macedonia being a mission location literally in the Bible. Like, it literally talks about Macedonia in the scriptures and Paul going to Macedonia. Like, Paul has been my role model. Like, if he provided for Paul back then, he could provide for me. So when it comes time for the second semester, I had only committed to the first because the full thing was a hefty amount of money and I only had 3 months to fundraise. And I was like,
it was like, what, $18,000?
$18,000. And I only had 3 months to fundraise. I was so overwhelmed because I'm like, I've never even seen that amount of money. Like, that's a lot. And I was like, I can't do that. I can't come up with that money. But the first semester was $8,000. And I was like, okay, that's a little bit more doable, like in 3 months. And it was always an option to go the full time, but I was just like, I don't know. But the more and more that I've been praying about it, the more and more that the second semester has been on my heart, and just that the Lord wants me to do it. And so the second semester is in Guatemala and in Mexico. So that's something that, I also don't know why the Lord wants me to go. I know that he does, but I don't know why. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what I'm walking into. But you know what? I don't have to. I don't have to know what he wants me to do as long as I'm obedient. And as long as I'm obedient in the moment, he will show me. He will show me where he wants me to go. And he's done it so many times this summer and just my whole life. Like, once you're obedient, that is what he uses to show you where he wants you to go.
And so you made the decision to go the entire full year now instead of just the first semester.
Oh, yes. Literally yesterday.
So first semester was already funded.
Yeah, fully funded in 2 months. Not even 3 months. $8,000 in 2 months. And I had a whole extra month, and I was like, okay, now I can relax. Like, we went on vacation. I was like, okay, I can breathe.
So yesterday we got the official word that an official spot opened up, right?
Oh, yeah. So before that, just a little bit about my experience with that is my prayer when it comes to the Lord's plan for my life, especially now that I have no idea what they are. My prayer has been like, Lord, make it abundantly clear. Because make it abundantly clear if you want me to do this or if you don't. And so when I learned about Italy in the coffee shop, that was my prayer. I was like, Lord, this seems too good. This seems like you want me to do it, but I want to be 100% sure. Make it abundantly clear. Line everything up. Make everything line up. And everything lined up to the point where, like, okay, like, I know, like, okay, Jesus, like, I know, like,
He's like, got it.
Yeah, I'm going to be obedient. And so I was praying yesterday because it's been on my heart. I told my pastor on Sunday when they prayed, I'm like, I think it's what the Lord wants me to do, but I just need to keep praying about it. My advisor for the trip had texted me. I'm like, I think it's what the Lord wants me to do, but I just got to keep praying about it. And so I was praying about it yesterday at work. I was literally making a drink. I remember exactly what drink I was making. I was making a drink at work.
Wait, what drink was it?
It was a caramel ribbon crunch.
Oh, that's Dad's favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was making a drink and I was sitting there and I was praying and I was like, Lord, I think you want me to do the spring semester, but I don't know. I want you to make it abundantly clear because time was running out. I needed to make a decision. And I was like, Lord, make it abundantly clear if you want. I literally prayed that prayer. Less than 2 minutes later, I turn around and I see my mom and my sister walk in. That's weird. Why are they in town? And she goes, Addy, I need to talk to you. And she goes, I just got an email that a kid dropped out for the full year and they want to know if you want the spot. And I was like, okay, Jesus, I don't know if it could get much clearer. And I said yes. And I took it. And the amount of emotions that were flowing through me, like nervous and scared way more than the first semester. But I think it's because like, okay, Italy, I've been there. Okay, coffee, I've done that. My best friend's actually going to Italy. So, okay, I got her. I have the experience. Like, I can do it. Like, I've met some of the people that I'm going with. Like, okay, I could do that. For the second semester, right now I know he wants me to go, but I can't do it by myself. Like, I cannot do it on my own. I don't know what I'm walking into. Same thing as a mission trip. Like, I don't know what I'm walking into. I don't know why he wants me to go. Mexico and Guatemala, those are big countries. Yes, I'm ready. And yes, I'm like wanting to go because I know that the Lord wants me to go, but I cannot do that on my own. I'm going to have to rely on him. And the biggest thing is 9 months. It's 9 months instead of 3 months.
You're going to be gone for 9 months. I don't get to hug you for 9 months. Well, that's not true. So I'll be in Rome at the same time you're in Sorrento. And so we're going to stay a couple extra days and go down. So I am going to get to hug you in November.
Once. Less than halfway through.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my biggest thing too, is like, I've been preparing all summer to leave for 3 months. I've not been preparing all summer to leave until May. And I made this decision yesterday, 3 days before I leave for my trip. And so it's been like a switch because I'm like, okay, technically I don't need to pack anything else, but like 9 months, like my biggest thing is my family. Like I'm going to miss them so much, and just not being around them and not being around my little sisters and my mom and just everything. That's going to be way harder than the 3 months. And so it's something that I'm going to have to rely on the Lord fully and like in a way that I've never had to before.
Yeah.
That's kind of been a trend.
Well, and I think you are a very capable kid. You are very independent. Even as the middle child, you are the most independent of our kids.
Absolutely.
You know, you've been a straight A student. You're incredibly smart. You're incredibly talented. You're a hard worker. You know, all of the things. And I think when you are somebody that works and operates at a high function, at a high capacity, there is a tendency for self-reliance versus God-reliance. It's not to say that you don't need the Lord for the first semester. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is saying yes to the second semester is going to require a different level of obedience. And so we're about out of time, but I think what I would love for you to do for people that are listening is to maybe summarize up some thoughts on obedience, and then to also pray for the person that might be saying, okay, I get this, but I'm still struggling with my flesh. I'm at that point where you were at. I want to say yes to God. I want to say yes to what God is doing, but that means saying no to my flesh.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I want you to pray for that person. And then also, I just want to share, I want to be really honest. This now means we have to raise another $9,000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think even $8,000 versus $18,000, it was like, okay, we can do this. We can do this in a couple months. Like I've done so many fundraisers for I've been in missions forever. So we've done this. This feels like an old hat for us. $18,000 is a whole different story, and you're leading. So now it's like, we have to ask for help. We have to ask for support.
When I have been meeting with people for the first $8,000, like it's going to be another $8,000 is what I need right now. But when I've been meeting with people, that is what I said. Or like when I'm thank you for your obedience, because the Great Commission, we're all called to go and make disciples of all nations, but also that's a call to obedience.
Jif peanut butter. It's that jiffing good. It doesn't really need advertising. So instead, enjoy the calming sounds of the ocean It's that jiffing good. Get your Jif at jif.com.
Take the next 30 seconds to invest in yourself with Vanguard. Breathe in. Center your mind. Recognize the power you have to direct your financial future. Feel the freedom that comes with reaching your goals and building a life you love. Vanguard brings you this meditation because we invest where it matters most, in you. Visit Vanguard.com/investing in you to learn more. All investing is subject to risk.
The Lord tells us that if you're not the goers, then you're the senders. We have an obligation to send people to go out and be physically obedient to the Great Commission. Not that everyone else isn't, but going, physically leaving and going across the world or across the country or whatever it is. But there is a call. And it's so hard because my flesh, I'm like, oh, I hate asking people for money. But no, it's asking people to partner with me and to also be obedient in the Great Commission, because that is what I'm doing. That's my calling. That's where I'm going. But anyone else's part who wants to be involved or who wants to partner or whatever it is, it's also being obedient. So I've been thanking people, or saying, thank you for your obedience in this with me. And thank you for partnering with me, because it's not about me. It's not about the money. And our pastor on Sunday, he was like, our focus needs to be off of the need and onto the fruit. So I'm focusing on the fruit because he will provide for the need. And so, not to say I'm just going to be, ignorant, stagnant, not do anything about the finances, but I'm focusing on the fruit. And I know that this is where the Lord wants me to go, and I'm ready to be obedient. But I don't need to focus on the need. I know that the Lord wants me to go, so I know he'll provide, but that happens through obedience. So
for people that do want to partner with you, how can they do that?
So I have a link in a blog. My blog is kind of, updates, testimonies. I've written 3 or 4 or 5 so far, and they're about my story and a little bit about what I shared, a little bit more detail of where we're going, what we're doing, what country or what cities we're going to be in Albania and Italy. And so
we'll link all of that in the show notes for today's episode too.
Yeah, so my blog will give updates the entire time. Now, you can subscribe if you want to, it'll send you an email every time I post a blog. Our goal is to do it once a week. So while we're in country, get once a week updates about what the Lord's been doing, where we're going, or what we need prayer for. And then second, we can link down my fundraising link. It's either 8,000 or 9,000 that I need to raise. Yeah, if you guys want to, if you feel that that's what the Lord is calling you to be obedient in, then absolutely, we can link those. And, I've been saying it's not even about me. It's not even, yes, thank you so much for being obedient, but not for my sake, for the people and the lives that we're going to change. And that's only because of Jesus. So it's all about Jesus, not about me. I don't care about myself. I care about, making Jesus known. And about obedience, a quite simple yes and a quite simple, saying what God wanted you to say will change the trajectory of your life.
And somebody else's.
And somebody else's, yeah. Me being obedient and taking a step out in faith quite literally changed my whole perspective of the Lord, because it's always head knowledge. I've grown up in a Christian school, grown up in a Christian home, and I know that he has bigger plans for you. That's the first time I've ever experienced this, the Lord has bigger plans for you. Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, whatever. No, he has bigger plans for you than you have for yourself.
Yeah.
And so big, like I said before, that's my dream come true. But it was so big, I never even would have imagined it. I couldn't have imagined it. That's something that I didn't even know was possible. And that's what he has. So on the other side of obedience, it's such a blessing. I've been so blessed. I don't know what the Lord is going to do, but I know he's going to do something. And I know he's going to do something big. So
that expectant faith, I think as a mom, that is probably the most exciting thing for me. I remember even when you made the decision to go to law school, I couldn't tell you, but I knew it was the wrong decision. And so even though now, as your mom, it would be way easier to have you do online classes in the basement so I could hug you every day. Yeah. Versus now you're going to be gone for 9 months. But yet there's so much peace because we know that this is God's plan.
We didn't even touch on peace. That's the biggest thing is I have had so much peace about it. You would think I'm going to 7 or 8 countries. You would think going to 7 or 8 countries with 29 people that I have no idea, I've never met. 7 different countries. any normal person would be so nervous and so scared. Like, so many people don't do it. I've had so much peace about it. Like, yes, okay, a little bit of nerves, whatever. I've had so much peace about it, like supernatural peace, because I know it's exactly where the Lord wants me to go. There's been so much confirmation and so much like of him lining everything up and him preparing me. I know it's where he wants me.
So let me ask you a question. Would you say that obedience and peace are related?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, first of all, the biggest thing in my life that I've even been, spiritual warfare right now, you won't have peace if you're walking in disobedience.
Yeah.
Like, if you are walking in disobedience, you will not have peace about it. You know when something's wrong when you're doing it. It's because you're being disobedient. And then on the other side of that, when you're walking in obedience, there's a supernatural covering of peace that you cannot get unless you are being obedient.
Yeah, for sure.
And so there's also that spot in the middle where, you might not be disobedient, but you're not walking in obedience. But not walking in obedience is disobedience. If you're not doing what you know the Lord wants you to do, if you're not doing what you know he's called you to do, or the conversation that he's called you to have, or going to your neighbor's house and, helping with groceries, whatever it is, if you're not doing that, you're walking in disobedience. You don't necessarily have to be doing some horrible sin that you don't want to think about or you don't want anyone knowing. Like, it doesn't even have to be that. It just has to be like, if you're hesitant and you're not doing what the Lord wants you to do, that is disobedient and you're not going to have peace. But on the flip side of that, you will have so much peace when you know. Okay, so I do want to take a second and pray. Dear Jesus, I just thank you for this opportunity just to come on here and just share a little bit about what you're doing. It's not even about me. It's not about my life. It's not about the testimony of my life, but it's about you. It's about how you continue to show up and how you continue to open my eyes to what you want to do, and just open my eyes to how powerful you are and how detailed you are and how good of a father you are. And like, you're my dad who cares about me and who the passions of my heart you're giving me in full and real time. And it just feels so amazing to be seen that much. I've never been seen by anyone as much as I've been seen by you. And so, Lord, the people that are in my situation, of that you have to be obedient, and you know what the Lord wants you to say. Or like in that final debrief, when he told me to say, I can't not do missions every day for the rest of my life, but I was struggling so much. I was going back and forth, flesh versus spirit, literally going back and forth and not knowing whether to say it or not. The people that are in that situation, Lord, I pray that you just touch their heart and have my message of it being so amazing on the other side. I pray that you will just touch their heart and plant that seed of them wanting to do it, because everyone can see how good you are and how good it is to walk in obedience. And not only just does obedience bring peace, but obedience brings blessing, and obedience brings so many open doors that I cannot open for myself. There's been so many open doors and things that you have been preparing me for that I would have never known and never even experienced or never imagined. That, why do I need to prepare for this? Oh, wait, yeah, it's because of this. Lord, you do things that we're not prepared for. You know everything, but you also know everything because you know what's good for us and what's bad for us. And you give us those desires of our hearts, and you tell us. Peace is literally you telling us whether we are being disobedient or whether we are being obedient. So I pray for those people that are in that position, just for them to hear and truly hear and listen to how good it is when people are obedient, and just how much peace it will bring them, and just give them so much strength and courage to step out in faith and not by sight. We cannot see. I do not know what's going to happen, but Lord, you do. So it doesn't matter. Like, I want God's best for every single person. And that only happens through obedience. We can't be walking in disobedience and be living your plan that you have for our life. So Lord, I thank you for just this opportunity to get to just share a little bit about what you've been doing and what you want others to know, and what a testament it is to how good you've been to me in my life specifically, but also how many opportunities you've opened up the door for other people to experience your love, and just how other people are faithfully serving and just loving you, and how much of a kingdom impact that this will make, how much of a kingdom impact that obedience makes. So Lord, I thank you for every single person listening, and I pray that every single person will just have a fresh new perspective of obedience and what it can lead to. And in your precious name I pray.
Amen. Addy, thank you so much for your prayer. I think what you said at the end there is so powerful and so true. Our obedience or our disobedience makes a kingdom impact.
Yeah.
In one way or another.
Yeah.
And so that's my prayer, that our listeners would be propelled towards obedience because of your testimony. So, Addy Curtis at the World Race, everything will be linked in the show notes if you would like to follow along with Addy's journey, or if you would like to partner with her in giving. We just thank you for your prayers and for your support. Addy, thank you so much for being here and finally succumbing to being a podcast interview guest. Here's the question of the hour. Will you come back and give us an update?
Hey, I feel like I have to now.
Yeah, everybody's going to be waiting with bated breath.
I will say it's going to be a cliffhanger because it'll be 9 months. But if you
No, I'm going to interview you when I come to Italy.
Oh, you bring your mic?
Yeah, I'm going to use my iPhone. People will be waiting to hear.
You can interview me, and then when I get back, I'll talk about Mexico and Guatemala.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, perfect.
All right, I love you, kid. Thanks for joining us today.
Love you too. Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks for listening, guys.
Bye.